Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to America, the U.S. Embassy's American Center, with me, Farah, as your e-guides for today. And for those of you who are tuning us via online platform, America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, where our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to express, experience, and explore American culture through our diverse programs and facilities we have. Kindly visit our website at www.atamerica.or.id to get more information from us. And ladies and gentlemen, today's special talk is Women in Finance, Financial Inclusion for Everyone. Thank you. In this event, we will spotlight the challenges facing women's access to financial services. We will explore the implications of gender inequality and financial literacy, and we will discuss ways to enhance financial education for women. But before we start the talk, ladies and gentlemen, we have opening remarks will be given by the Charge of the Affairs of the U.S. Mission to ASEAN. Everyone, please welcome Ibu Kate Ripols.
Good evening, selamat malam. I am so excited to join you this evening to discuss a critical topic, women's financial inclusion. At the U.S. Mission to ASEAN, we are, as part of our goal of being durable and reliable partners to ASEAN as an institution and its member states, we are committed to building prosperity. And the most critical part, from my perspective, in building prosperity is empowering women, promoting women's economic development, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. And so tonight's event is critical as we, the U.S. Mission to ASEAN, articulate our vision for a more prosperous relationship for our combined 1 billion people. But before I get into more of the opening remarks, I wanted to just give a huge, incredible round of thanks to our speakers tonight. Sekar, Putih, Djarot, I may be mispronouncing your name, but thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're so excited to have you here. We are also joined by Veronica Colondam, the CEO and founder of YCAB, and I'll tell you, I'm very humbled to be here, a part of this program with individuals who are doing such meaningful and actionable work to promote women's financial inclusion. Thank you for all that you do and for joining us this evening. And then I think we have a very special treat because we have an incredible comedian who's going to open the performance. Sakdiyah Maruf, thank you so much for joining us today, but then also for bringing lightness and seriousness together through comedy to talk about something that I think most people, even in the United States, you're not supposed to talk about finance, and women aren't supposed to talk about financial inclusion. So thank you for bringing this topic to all of us in a way that we can learn together and have fun learning. So thank you for all that you do. As we all know, empowering women and investing in women produces a multiplier effect. Women, when they are economically empowered, financially literate, reinvest in their communities and in their families. And so that is one of the main reasons why at the U.S. Mission to ASEAN and at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta, we are working on women's economic empowerment. Through U.S. ASEAN, we are working with USAID on a gender dialogue, and that is with the United States and all 10 ASEAN members on ways that we can, with concrete actions, uplift women, and women's economic empowerment and entrepreneurship is an important part of that dialogue. Here at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta, we've been organizing programming on women's economic empowerment, such as the economic section's Women in Finance series. And this finance series has included events here at America about how to develop and support women leaders in the financial industry, in addition to other events on how we can work together. So my team has written this incredible speech. But no one wants to listen to me. So I want to just give you a hearty thank you for joining us this evening. A fantastic thank you for my colleagues here. And please, if everyone could give them a warm welcome. And I am convinced that we will learn a lot together. And I look forward to hearing the speakers. So thank you.
Once again, thank you so much to Ibu Kat Rebels as the Charge of the Affairs of U.S. Mission to ASEAN for the opening remarks given. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our discussion for tonight, we have a special stand-up comedy performance just for you. And everyone, please welcome Kak Sakdiyah Ma'ruf.
Hello. Hello, good evening. How are you guys doing? Good. Not intimidated at all? Like women in finance. Not intimidated at all? Amazing. The world is changing, Ibu. The world is changing. No one is intimidated by like the idea of women in finance. Yay, women. Yay! Amazing. I mean, we've just watched video of 75 years of diplomatic relationship between Indonesia and USA. And just now, the Gojek driver that took me here to America, his name was Ronald Reagan. Seriously, I'm like, so much for 75 years of Indonesia and US diplomatic relationship. Do you know Ronald Reagan? A very, Gen Z. we have our Gen Z audience, and we have our everyone here is like, do you know Ronald Reagan? Yes. Like, do you know Ronald Reagan? No. We're not going to talk about age gap or generations gap, because we are here tonight together to celebrate women in finance, to celebrate women's empowerment. Yes? Yes. Another thing, I mean, such a beautiful premise at America, and it happens to be located in Pacific Place Mall, right? And it's such a humbling experience to enter Pacific Place Mall. Truly reminds you of things you cannot afford, Like, seriously, like all of those shops. Yes, reminds us of things that we cannot afford. And cannot afford means cannot afford. Not with your credit card or pay later or, No. We're not talking about getting in debt for a nice handbag. I hope you're not offended. No. Not getting in debt for a nice handbag. So cannot afford means cannot afford. I have to remind our young generations here, so easy to get pay later and everything, right? Yes, everyone is like, yeah. If you have to, do it for your laptops or, anything that can support your educations. Yes. And the stereotype, the stereotype of women, especially women, were always accused of being such a careless spender. Yeah, but Veronica, the stereotype, it's so mean, like shopaholics and like easily enticed by like nice handbags. No, we're not. It's ultra expensive. Like, So, everyone, allow me to talk a little bit about my own personal experience. I was born and raised in conservative Arab descent community in Central Java. To put it in perspective, when pandemic hit, my father was ecstatic. He said, "You see, government agrees with me. Women should stay at home." And I was like, "No, Dad, it's for everybody. It's for everybody." I mean, talking about financial inclusions, how many women are losing their jobs during pandemic and have to be the one giving up their jobs to care for their families more? Yeah, Ibu, we're going to talk about that more later in a more, serious sessions, how it is important for women to stay in the job, to stay employed, and to empower themselves. But yeah, uh, my dad said, "Look outside, men are still working." He was referring to policemen. Of course, of course they're outside. And he just went about with his life. The next day, he was stopped. He was stopped at the traffic light for breaking pandemic restrictions by a policewoman. Yes, we're dismantling patriarchy one policewoman at a time. Yeah, and come to think of it, we're not only coming from a conservative family in that sense, in like a more patriarchal sense, our financial policy is also a bit conservative. So for your information, I read on Wikipedia, I'm not that financially literate. That's why I attend this workshop. And so I read on Wikipedia, fiscal conservatives means tax cuts, reduced government spending, free markets, deregulations. I don't know what that means. Privatizations, etc., etc. I'm like, no wonder I was not allowed to go outside and hang out with my friends. Reduced parent spending. And then my mom taught me to save money and to learn business from a very young age. Privatization. Mom, Dad, I still need subsidy. Regardless of that fact of me growing up in conservative community, a conservative family, so many restrictions. I mean, I kid you not. I almost, unable to go out of the house except for like school. But I'm very fortunate that my parents support my educations. And really, educations is key to women's advancement in all aspects of life, including in economy and finance. And so I'm very happy that my parents, were very supportive of my educations. They thought that educations can help women gain career and get, better income. And I studied at the university. I studied English literature. For my master's degree, I studied American studies, actually. So, woohoo. No, I'm just trying to be relatable to the, but it's true. Yeah. And so, and during the final year, my thesis advisor proudly said, "Sakdiyah, it has been an amazing journey. You're almost finished. You're almost at the finish line. Your thesis is almost finished. I want you to know that we are very lucky to study English literature because even though it's not going to help you with your career, it will give you wisdoms to walk through life." I said, "Excuse me, what?" How can I tell my parents who's been hoping that educations can help women to get better career and better income. I went back home after graduating university very proudly. You know what, Dad? I've gained wisdoms. I've gained wisdom. Like I major in English and minor in history, which makes me completely unemployable. I've gained wisdom. So the last hope will be on marriage. Boom! I'm like, the last hope will be on marriage. I'm lucky. I got married to an engineer. No, I want to be financially independent myself. Like, are you kidding me? I got married to an engineer. And, my parents like, okay, better career on his side. And after we got married, he told me the secret that he's been trying to change profession into poet. Excuse me, what? I'm the one studying English literature. And he did. He went, my husband went and published 8 poetry books. Yeah, which don't sell really well. And so, but we're very supportive. Like, we're very supportive of, of each other's dream. We're very supportive of each other's dream. Probably because we got married at like quite a mature age. He was 40 when we got married. I was 34. He was like so in love. I was like so desperate, And and I'm like, but we're very lucky. My husband is like one of my financial mentors. He's very good in budgeting and spending and saving and investing my money. Remember, he's a poet who don't sell really well. And also, this is the principle that most Muslims live by. Husband money is wife money. Wife money is wife money. Yes. Yes. So several years ago, we moved to the village. We used to live in Jakarta, and right before the pandemic, we were lucky enough to be able to move to the village and farm. We moved to the village because of the, fresh air, obviously, and that is exactly what we're getting, fresh air. No doctors or better schools, just fresh air. Maybe with fresh air you don't need doctors much. And I came across a harsh reality that many women in my community, many women in my village, I know Ibu Veronica has a lot of projects in many different villages in Indonesia. They were largely in debt, they were largely in debt to a loan shark. And you know how loan shark works. They, they give you like a couple of millions loan, very easy one. And it's easy to pay as well, just 5,000, 10,000 rupiahs per day, but like for the rest of your life. And it's sad because, no, I don't want to end on a sad note. And it's sad, but that's also why we are all here. When I ask them, is there anything is there anything that I can do to help? They usually say, do you want to buy my land? And they're, one by one, they're selling their farms land. And I said, well, madam, apologies, I don't have money, I have wisdoms. And then English literature here. And my husband is a poet. And so we have wisdoms. So this is special to our Indonesian audience here. Allow me to end with a story in Bahasa Indonesia. It is easier to be told in Bahasa Indonesia, and really gives me a reason to keep going, a reason to continue to work to empower women, because of this one massive mistake that I made, So I was in a hurry one day for an event in Jakarta. I was in a hurry, and then I ordered online transportations, and then one driver picked up. Well, before picking up, like, one driver agreed to pick up. I don't know how the application works, especially not in English. And so and I saw on my app the driver was a woman. And then it was one of the heartbreaking, like one of the biggest mistake that I made in my life. I reject. And that's why I share, when we're talking about financial inclusion, we're also talking about giving opportunities to women. And we always think that men drivers are, faster, more skillful, etc. If we keep on, thinking that way and having that mindset, then it's very difficult. That's why I keep on sharing this story of my mistake. And then I reorder, and then I got a male driver. And then he arrived, and I said, he arrived. I'm not talking Bahasa Indonesia. Anyway, let's just power through. He arrived. And I said, please, do you know Jalan Tikus? What's Jalan Tikus in English, Pak Joshua? Shortcuts, yes. English literature much. Yeah. Do you know Jalan Tikus, Pak? Shortcut. I'm really in a hurry. And you know what he said? Apologies, ma'am. This is my first day working as driver. Biggest lessons learned. Discriminating women, you get the karma directly. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the discussion. Thank you.
Yay! Once again, can we give a big round of applause for the one and only, our first Indonesian hijabi komika, Sakdiyah Ma'ruf. Yay! Hello, Sakdiyah. Maybe we can move a bit here. All right, then. How are you today, Kak?
Great. How are you?
I'm great. What about Jakarta's traffic lately?
Banyak mobil brimob.
I see.
I didn't know that tonight is football.
Yes,
Football match.
football
Oh
match.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Like,
Yes.
oh my God. Instead of going to football match, don't get.
All right, then, Sakdiyah. What a great performance. What a
Thank
great
you.
stand-up comedy.
Thank you
And
so much.
as we know that comedy is
Yeah.
often starts with the simplicity of life, of the daily life. And how do you find the inspiration for your stand-up material, especially about the inclusion of women in finance?
Yeah, personal experience, mostly maju yo iya. Iya, memang kalau acara harus lihat show directornya.
Yes, betul.
Jadi, mostly personal experience and observations of the women in my communities. We are standing on shoulder, English literature much, shoulder, okay. So we are standing on the shoulders of our, courageous women before us. And my inspirations when it comes to financial inclusion, is my grandmother. My grandmother was, she went through hardship in her life, arranged marriage, and so many hardships in her life, but she strongly held this principle of, even though you're a woman, even though you are living in highly, patriarchal community or family, you have to always, be financially independent. So she started her own business, and she started investing as well. Every time she made profit, she bought gold, like small gold plates, and also jewelries, and that was what saved her when, unfortunately, my grandfather chose to, went through the path of polygamy, unfortunately, and so that was really the beginning of me truly understanding the importance of, standing on your own feet as woman.
Okay, thank you, Kasadia. I do really agree with that. And based on my experience too, I do learn a lot from my grandmothers and from my mothers related to this kind of things, women inclusion in financial, so that I can learn a lot of things, how to manage your own money and things. And how do you see your committee evolving to continue to address social issues such as gender equality in finance? This is such a hard and demanding topic in our society, but how can you wrap it up as a comedy?
I think the most important thing in every art, including comedy, is our ability to feel and empathize. And that is, I guess, our strongest thing when it comes to making art, writing jokes, performing comedy. Our ability to empathize and being, very observant, but not only observant, observe with empathy.
Yes.
And so, not only stories about growing up, for instance, but also when I moved to the village, like I mentioned in my comedy, when I moved to the village, I discovered different challenges, and also my experience with a Gojek driver, made me, think a lot, and also admit my mistake in many different forums, because that was huge according to me. I mean, I would want to, I've as a woman and working woman as well, I would want to be, appreciated, being given opportunity, uh, making opportunities myself, not only, being given opportunities, but opening door, making opportunities myself. And at that time, I closed the door for one ibu on that particular moment. And so that was a huge realization for me as well. So the ability to empathize, the ability to empathize, and to understand that, again, discriminating women, you get karma directly.
All right, then. So it is important to put yourself in another person's shoes, isn't it? Okay, all right then. Thank you so much, Kak Sakdiyah, for the amazing performance. Once
you.
again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
All right then. Now let's moving on to the next agenda, ladies and gentlemen, and we will have a special discussion led by one of the economic officers in the U.S. embassies in Jakarta. And everyone, please welcome Joshua Wayland.
At America. Mari kita bertepuk tangan kepada Ibu Sakdiyah lagi. Terima kasih banyak, Ibu. Sebelum saya memperkenalkan panel kita malam ini, kita akan beristirahat dulu dan melakukan survei kita di sini. So we can have audience participation. Silakan mengeskan. Okay. Siap? Okay, let's begin. Okay, our first question. In your family, who is mostly in charge of household finances, the budget, investment, savings, insurance? Okay, we're seeing some answers come in here. And it looks like the mother or wife of the household is winning out. Yeah, far ahead. Now, that's certainly true in my household as well. Let's move on to the next question. In your family, how many of the women have a bank account? And this looks like we're going to have some more good news here. All of them, or most of them, or some of them, or none of them. And the vast majority of you are answering all of them, so we're very pleased to see that as well. Let's go to the next question. So this is going to get to some of the challenges, and it looks like this text is a little bit hard to read, so I'll read it out loud for you. What do you think is the biggest reason that many women still do not have a bank account? Is it because they don't have enough information about how to open an account? Or is it because the family doesn't have enough money to save? Is it because the requirements or paperwork from the bank are too difficult? Do they rely on male family members to handle finances? Or is there another reason? And it's looking like answer D, they rely on male household members to handle finances, is the top answer for this one about reasons that women might not have a bank account. All right, let's move on to the fourth question. Why do you think that many women find it difficult to get information about financial services like bank accounts or investment products or insurance? Is it because they're too busy with family responsibilities? Is it because they do not have access to the information? Is it because they do not have a cell phone or internet? Or is it because they're not interested or some other reason? And it looks like answer A is our winner here on this question. They are too busy with family responsibilities to search for information. All right, let's move on to our final question. What type of outreach do you think would be most helpful for improving financial literacy and improving financial inclusion for women? Would it be workshops on personal finance? Would it be websites with information about financial products and services? Videos or podcasts about financial topics? Or speakers or panels about financial inclusion? And it looks like most of you would like to see workshops on personal finance. Maybe not so many of these panels, like what we're doing here. And videos and podcasts about financial topics also looks like it's something that a lot of you would like to see. All right, that brings us to the end of our surveys. Thank you all very much for participating. All right, at this time, I'm going to introduce our panel members for this evening. We've got a very special group of speakers who are going to join me up on the stage tonight. First, I ask for you to help me welcoming Ibu Veronica Colondam, the founder and CEO of the YCAB Foundation. Welcome, Veronica. And we also have with us tonight Ibu Sekar Putih Djarot, the Director of the Public Communications Group at Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, OJK. Welcome. And then last but not least, we have with us Melissa Marszalek. Melissa is Commercial Attaché for the Department of Commerce at the U.S. Embassy, one of my coworkers. So welcome to all three of you.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh.
All right, so I want to start out with, it's going to sound like a simple question, but we keep using this term. It's even in our title, financial inclusion, right? So what does that term actually mean? And I'd like to get all of you to maybe give me some background on what financial inclusion is and why is it important that we talk about it. Let's start with Veronica, if that's okay.
Well, this is from what we learned from the field. We've been 25 years empowering families in Indonesia at the bottom of the pyramid. And we came to this around 2009, so that's probably about 14, 15 years ago, thinking that in order to create change, you need to empower mothers. So financial inclusion, it wasn't the it thing back then. I don't think if OJK maybe have campaign on the financial inclusion started at what year, I'm not sure. But for us, it was an awakening when we wanted to bring poor people out of the bottom of the pyramid through education. That was before we were into the financial empowerment. We're thinking that's a good idea, but apparently it's not sustainable unless the household is empowered. So for us, financial inclusion means empowering mothers. In this case, I was going to ask Ibu OJK here whether there's a specific Indonesian study on it, because I think worldwide, globally, it's been quite consistent that when mothers empowered, the whole family are empowered, and the whole nation is in a better future, I think, so to speak. So that's when we realized halfway through doing work on the bottom of the pyramid, we then realized empowering economically is sustainable, actually, to reach a better welfare, sejahtera, like family with better, I don't know what's the word, kesejahteraan. It's not even prosperity, but at least, there. So that's for us. That's how we met and how important it is in creating change, in transform the poor, bringing them from, out of the poverty box. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So that's why your organization has concentrated on mothers in particular because of that multiplier effect, right?
Absolutely.
When you train mothers, you can train the whole household in
that's pretty much what it is.
Financial literacy.
That's the journey.
Right?
It took us a decade just to do education, the second decade, including financial inclusion, to empower households. So I think that's working better.
So let's hear from Ibu Sekar about the government of Indonesia's perspective on financial inclusion and some of the work that OJK is doing in this area.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, in terms of financial inclusion, OJK itself, we've tried to measure financial inclusion starting, I think, from the first survey, if I'm not mistaken, we started at 2017, I think. Yeah, we started 2017. We have a survey on financial inclusion. That's where we, echoing what just been said, it is something that we know that how ensuring that individuals and businesses can access like an affordable and useful financial product and services like saving, credit, insurance, and payments, and all of these is to enhance their financial well-being. And the financial access profound greater economic opportunities. They also foster inclusive economic growth, but also it paves the way to bridge the gap between groups and regions, and leading to poverty reduction. It helps the low-income individuals save and invest. It also reduce income gaps, decrease reliance on informal financial system like loan sharks, and also unlocking new opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises. And nevertheless, well, it leads to a more efficient market and better allocation of resources and competition. So financial inclusion is very crucial to a more resilient economy and enhance the social being overall. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that. And it sounds like one of the first steps that OJK was doing was just collecting the data about financial inclusion, right? Doing these surveys, because you can't solve a problem until you know what the problem
What's the root
is,
cause? Yeah.
where the focus should be geographically, finding those connections between financial inclusion and economic growth. So thank you very much to OJK for collecting the data that we also use at the embassy to look into this issue.
Okay. Thank you.
And then finally, we'll turn to Melissa. So Melissa, I know there are so many agencies at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. I work for the U.S. Department of State. We also have the U.S. Agency for International Development that is doing financial inclusion work for women. The Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, is involved in some projects to promote financial inclusion for women, and also the Millennium Challenge Corporation is doing this kind of work as well. But you work for an entirely different agency. Would you please tell our audience a little bit about the Department of Commerce and Foreign Commercial Service and your role as a commercial attaché?
Sure, thank you. You know, as you said, Josh, there's so many different agencies housed within the embassy itself that are really working to help better the Indonesian society as much as possible from a variety of different angles. And so I work for the Department of Commerce, which we're really about supporting the businesses. So we look at it from the careers that get developed, not the degree in English literatures we already learned tonight, right? No, just kidding. But how we can help the businesses grow and become better. And you know, we focus on U.S. businesses, but one thing that we always look at is how those U.S. businesses can sell here into Indonesia. And so looking at new products into the market. But a really interesting part about all that is in order to actually bring those products into Indonesia, they have to have a local partner distributor. So that gives, you know, additional opportunities to Indonesian businesses to grow and to, you know, become more prosperous and therefore also become more financially stable. So, but we also do a lot of programs for the inclusive side of things. So we do look at minority-owned businesses, whether it's female-owned or somebody from a minority grouping, race, and we have a big focus in our work on small and medium-sized enterprises because we really want to help the smaller companies. The large companies, they know what they're doing. They've got the money, right? So we really want to help those smaller entities that are looking to grow themselves and to expand and to become bigger and better, and hopefully here in Indonesia.
Thank you, Melissa. So I want to start getting into some of the details of this issue, financial inclusion. And I'd like to start with Ibu Sekar, if that's all right. I was looking at some of the data from OJK's survey work, and it seems that although there's been a lot of improvement in recent years, there's still a gender gap when it comes to financial inclusion, where the financial inclusion index that you all calculate, it continues to be lower for women compared to men. I was wondering, what do you think can explain this finding? What explains this gap between women and men when it comes to financial inclusion?
Okay, so basically based on the data and from the 2022 we did a national survey for the financial literacy and inclusion. The financial literacy index for women is actually has increased, and it is higher than men. It was, well, namely, it's like 50.33%, and this is partly because from 2019 to 2022, OJK made women as the priority target in the strategic direction on the financial literacy program. And but yes, on the other side, in the inclusion side, the index for women still remain lower, but it's not actually it's not that far. It's like for the men, it's on the 83.8%, and compared to the women, that's for the women's side, and for the men, it's on the 86%. So it's like the gap. It's not really really high, but there's still a gap in the inclusion side. So the literacy is there, but somehow women are not entering the or using the financial products and services. And from what we see, what caused this gap? There are several factors. First is the social culture norms and gender roles. I think Sadika was portraying it quite well on how it affects the expectation on the society. It limits the women access to financial resources and services. They have less autonomy with the patriarchal society. We have less autonomy in financial decision making within the household, and this discourage women even further in participating in economic activities outside their homes, and also with limited access in financial services due to the geographical location of Indonesia, especially women in the rural areas often face restriction to access formal financial institutions like banks and others. Also, women are most likely employed in the informal sector. So we see employment and income disparities where wages are lower and job security are also minimal. It limits their ability to save, invest, or even qualify for loans because the income are unstable, and also it's undocumented income streams. And also, we see that there's still a problem in accessing the identification and documentation. Formal financial services often we required identification documents and proof of address. And women in the rural areas, especially marginalized communities, they may lack of these documents due to like logistical or legal barriers, and this restrict them the ability to open bank accounts or even accessing credits. And yeah, other is also about legal and regulatory barriers where certain legal and regulatory framework may disproportionately affect women. Instance that the law requires now that spousal consents for women to open accounts or obtain loans, and this can be restrictive to the financial access or inclusion. So there are several those are the factors that contribute to the gap that we see. And addressing this factor really requires like a multifaceted approach, policy reforms, targeted financial literacy program to improve the access of identification and documentation, and also need to develop a financial product and services tailored to women. I think that will be empowering women economically, and they could better lead to a broader social economic growth.
Wow, that's very interesting. So you identified there's some social, cultural barriers, also regulatory barriers, informational and language barriers are all playing a role in explaining this. And also financial literacy, although it has increased a lot and is now higher for women than for men, it's still overall pretty low, yeah. Right? So there's still work that needs to be done on financial literacy as well. So Ibu Veronica, would you like to add to what Bu Sekar said about the reasons for the gap in financial inclusion? What do you see as specific challenges that women in Indonesia face trying to access financial services like bank accounts and insurance and investments?
Right. Okay. I'm on the optimist side because I'm activist, working on the ground, working with women. thousands of them, actually millions of them. Well, besides YCAB, I also sit in the commissioner board of PNM, Permodalan Nasional Madani, which is actually the largest microfinance in the world. I was just telling my colleague panelists that BRAC, has been the biggest. They're 30 million, serving 30 million ultra micro in the world, but in 6 countries. But PNM, today, Indonesia is leading the market in one country operation, 16 million women. So, yeah. When I joined the board, it was around 5 or 6 million. That was 6 years ago. And it doubles very, progressively, aggressively during COVID specifically. And we did actually open 6 million bank accounts, all women 100%, by the way. and this is to get bansos, the bantuan sosial during COVID. So this is, well, I'm optimist all the time. So looking at that data, and thank you, Ibu Sekar, for saying that the data shows that by 2022, the financial inclusion index, is it?
Right.
Is getting better, and women actually above men, looking at the size.
For the literacy.
Yeah, for the literacy. But this is because, of course, there's something to do with what PNM is doing. And of course, what YCAB is doing at a smaller scale, of course, in reaching out. One of your questions is about how to, right? Financial literacy. Some say workshop, everybody wants to see workshop and all that. But in reality, nobody will come. That's what's the reality on the ground. We asked for 10 minutes, we asked for 30 minutes, they would come, but then 1 time, 2 times, then gone. The dropout is like 80%. So everybody loves these things, but nobody will make time for it. That's reality on the ground. So what we actually created, this is through YCAB, we created a chatbot. This is also the thing that we did during COVID because we can't meet anyone. So chatbot was a financial literacy tools that is WhatsApp-based. Indonesian, everybody knows how to operate WhatsApp. So that works. Through this chatbot, which is then used by other banks in Indonesia, even foreign banks in Indonesia to do, because you regulate that every bank has to do financial inclusion.
Correct.
Good for OJK for doing that. International multinationals bank are using our chatbot. We also work with PNM to deliver this financial inclusion through chatbot. So there are 5 modules and this and that. They just have to. And interestingly enough, is that they access this chatbot either towards midnight or early in the morning.
Why do you think that is?
Right? That's because they're busy. That's that's one of your questions too. Why do women do not access this? Because they're just too busy to deal with that. They're just too busy in life to make money to survive. So what happened is, when they know that they're participating in this chatbot, financial inclusion, before bed, they do 1 module. It's fun, right? So this module, they can do over a week. So it consists of 5 or 7 modules, depending on what the target is. Every company has different targets, KPI. So that's when they access it. When they wake up after sembahyang, after their morning prayer, they will access it too. So nothing during the day, but that's the 2 times that it is most efficient, effective, and we have that in our learning map, right? We know who access and what time and what kind of module, how many times they spend on the module with that chatbot. So that's consistent with the finding that the eagerness to meet, yes, Indonesian always like to kumpul-kumpul, but when it comes to consistency, now this is a big question. But chatbot has been working, and that's contributing to your data, I hope.
Yeah, so it sounds like, based on what we found in our survey just now, being able to find the time to actually get educated on financial products, financial literacy is a big challenge. So one of the things you're working on is finding a way around that so that people can learn, so that women can learn these skills at times that is convenient for them. Excellent.
I think that's the key one, convenient to them. You can't force people to learn. They only want to learn, get to learn, right? In their own pace, at their own time. And you're creating a platform that is, communicating in their language at their level. Sorry to say this, but that's very important too. You can't speak like Ibu OJK here, It's different. You have to bring it down to the level of education, to the level of, the language. So there's no barrier in the understanding of the modules that we're trying to help. So yeah, happy to really kick this off nationally, Ibu Sekar, if this is something that can be used for, financial
I think it's the same thing
inclusion.
that we are doing actually. OJK also has a learning module system. Learning management system. LMS, right? The LMS consists of say modules like from beginners and then intermediate and then advanced, and yeah, it's basically trying to cater and customize according to each individual's time and preference and pace of learning. Yeah, it's not website based, but it's a website based. Yeah, still. But in terms of accessing information through your, smartphones, OJK realizes that now, especially Gen Z, they are communicating via social media. So we are very much trying to have product and financial services knowledge through our social media at OJK Indonesia or Instagram, or even we have our own YouTube channel where we try to provide regularly informations on products and financial services where people can just access and they can learn by their own, something like that.
I think we should
Fantastic.
join forces, web
Yeah,
based
of
and
course.
WhatsApp
Yeah,
based,
we can
right? So
collaborate.
this is something collaboration that can happen
I'm glad
collaboration
we're
with the
creating
financial
it right
on
here.
this stage. Yes.
Collaborating with the financial institution is something that we always go for. High five.
So Melissa, you grew up in the United States, and I know throughout your career you've worked in different countries around the world. Having heard about some of the challenges that women face in Indonesia, how do those compare with what you've seen elsewhere? Are they similar or different?
I would think that a lot of them are quite similar, to be honest. I think it's, I was hearing, there's some cultural aspects, there's the environment, the society. And I think it does make a difference on, if you're in a rural village or if you're in the city and exposed to, all of the apps, the Bluebird, the Grab, the e-wallets, all the things that we use here in Jakarta. But if you're out in a very remote location, none of that is really relevant, to what you're doing. I did grow up in the United States, and I did grow up in a way that, I was taught financial capabilities and knowledge from a young age, right? This was something that I think is part of the American culture. When you look at, how parents tend to raise their children, it's very typical for teenagers to have a job, at McDonald's or, a part-time job while they're going to school just to make some money to be able to, have some freedom. And it's not because their parents can't give them money or can't afford it, maybe in some cases, but it's in order to teach, that responsibility. And, there's the responsibility of going to school and the education, but there's also the responsibility of learning how to work, to be on time, to, follow directions from other people who are not your teachers or your parents, and things along that side. And I think that, depending on the country, I spent a long time in Morocco as another area where I lived for a while. And those are people's jobs. Those are their, daily jobs to feed their family. And so those jobs are not available to teenagers. And so they don't necessarily, grow up with that opportunity or that capability to learn there. And so that's something that some of the U.S. universities actually take into consideration, especially when they have the foreign students arrive, is they try to help them find jobs on campus to give them that experience and to give them that knowledge base that maybe they didn't necessarily have that their peers, their American peers, students that they're going to school with, did have. And so I think all of that just helps us better understand what is debt, the pay later, right? That was referenced, the credit cards, that capability of being able to put yourself into debt, but then how do you get yourself out, right? You talked about, from some of the areas, the loan sharks, right? And how much that just becomes you're paying interest, and what does that mean, and how much are you truly losing? And so I think there's so many benefits to the inclusion and to the literacy concept, that the more that we learn, the more that it can really help spread capability for development across so many different aspects. I think when you see and you see this when you have development in a location, if one person's business is growing, or one person is doing better in their business and they're making more money, that there's a trickle down effect into the neighborhood, into that environment surrounding them, because all of a sudden now they are spending more money, at the grocery store, at the gas station. Their family is capable. That's giving money to the people who own those stores, and so on and so on. So as much as you want to have goodness for yourself and your own family, it also helps the neighborhood around you as well.
Great. Thank you for the insight, Melissa, and comparing it to the situation in Indonesia versus other places around the world. Some similarities, but also differences, right, in terms of culture. We've talked a little bit already about the role of technology, right, with the YCAB Foundation's WhatsApp-based modules for financial literacy, and what OJK is doing with online modules as well. Now, technology is changing really fast, including in financial technology, right? There are new e-wallets and online payment systems like Curus, right? What do you all see this as a positive thing for financial inclusion, or are there potential downsides too? Because yes, it's easier to pay for things, but that also means it's easier to go into debt quickly, right? Another data point that I read recently is that there's actually a gender gap in terms of digital financial literacy. This is from an organization called Women's World Banking. So I was wondering, I would like to get your all's insight and take on that situation, whether there's a way to prevent that digital financial literacy gap from creating a new financial inclusion gap as financial technology becomes more and more important. So who would like to start? Veronica? I know it's a big question.
Yeah. The short answer to that, definitely, yes, technology helps. But a Poverty Action Lab, Esther Duflo's, they have University Indonesia. They work with University Indonesia here. I don't know if they're still, but this is the MIT branch of Poverty Action Lab. They collect data on technology and finance. So I've seen that the trend is getting higher in terms of start with a smartphone. The smartphone ownership went from probably in my experience and quite consistent with what they're finding, from 40% at least once per household, went up to 99% during COVID, because there's nothing else. You gotta have one at least for the family to go to school. That's basic, right? And the ownership does not mean literacy. The ownership does not mean they can use it. Example, during COVID, we were launching this Light Up program to help them to pay for their electrical bill. What the idea was to give the money donation, 100,000 through OFO, and for them to redeem that 100,000 to pay for their PLN electric bill. It was difficult. We had 1.5 million interest. They hit our portal, one needed the donation, and guess how many could actually go through the whole online, getting an online donation through OFO and pay their PLN? Anybody. Just from 1.5 million, how many would actually do that? 30%
I heard
tuh berapa?
50%.
50%? No, less. 100,000 less. Ooh. Sad, right? Very sad. But about, I think, 80,000 who could actually do that. And this is to give the money, goodness. This is to give the money through OFO to pay for electrical bill. Only 80,000. And then our target was 120,000. So 40,000 we call one by one. I call 500 households just to give them the 16-digit of PLN. What's that? Number, is it? To key in? I don't even know how to pay for my meter, but it's the electrical meter that you have to spell it out to them. It's that bad. So 99% ownership does not mean literacy. Literacy is still low. So to answer your question, how is it the future of intervention of technology into empowerment of economic? Yes, big hope, but in order to enable them to really use the technology, like our mothers, PNM, most of our clients out of 16 million is what? 35 would be the youngest, with 45, 55. They're just too lazy to learn. So they tell their husband, in this case, reliability, dependability is just because they just don't want to learn how to, or their kids, to access, all these financial products or loans, so to speak. I mean, our target at PNM is to give everything digital. Giving in money digital, the easiest part. But for them to cash it out, expensive. It's not cannot be done, it's just expensive because there's a transaction cost. If they want to clear 100,000 rupiah or 200,000 rupiah, the transaction cost is about 2,000 rupiah. That's the cheapest. 7,000 rupiah, that's average. And parkir, you have to bring your motor and then pay for transport and all that. That is, the cost can up to 10%. That's why PNM was bought out by BRI, because BRI being the largest bank who actually inspired Muhammad Yunus into microfinance, that was BRI. That was 1960 when Muhammad Yunus first came to BRI to do his study on microfinance and created the product. So BRI has been in the market for 120 years, bought out PNM, hoping that through their agent, the agent drilling, right, they can disburse money digitally and then at very lower costs. So we are still in the process of integrating operation, but this is promising because we're doing it at the large scale, at the very big scale. We have a dream of touching 20 million women, ultra micro women in Indonesia. That brings us the largest in the world. So technology promising, but not there yet.
How about from YCAB, Sekar, do you see positives and negatives from technology, or is it all upside?
I think it's clear from what was explained, like how it has expanded access to financial services, and it also helps small medium enterprises to access capital, especially in rural areas, informal sectors. How technology has on the upside has opened financial access to all. I mean, but then again, I think from our perspective, it is also critical to complement that with progress in robust financial literacy and digital literacy progress. So that's where we, OJK, are concerned that, and one of it is like the programs that we've already said before, like LMS, and then we provide also digital financial literacy module and financial literacy books. We've issued 4 modules related to digital financial literacy. It consists of how to choose a service for your module, the Cyber Ninja module, the Know Your FinTech module, and the Customer Support Channel module. And those are, we hope that by providing that, and also, again, social media content on digital financial literacy, we hope that it could help people not being trapped. Like we know we have this initiative to safeguard the public from potential danger poses, like from illegal online entities that are, yeah, pinjol, or like, if you know, like pinjol illegal and everything like that. So other than that, we also have taken initiative to protect the consumer side and public interest. We established a task force for combating illegal financial activities, Satgas Pasti. And since its inception in 2017, the number of illegal financial entities we've shut down, totaling to almost 9,000. And the breakdown is actually the illegal online lending entities is like the major part of it. So it is something that we need to recognize as a consumer as well, and from the regulatory to have to impose initiative like Satgas Pasti, and still providing modules like that for to increase the financial literacy digitally.
So it's both increasing digital financial literacy, and also making sure that the digital environment is safe
As well.
cracking down on illegal actors. In the time that we have left before we get to audience questions, I do want to ask each of you to maybe provide some practical advice to our audience here, are composed of mostly young women, though I'm very happy to see some young men here as well. That's very important for us to come out and to support our female colleagues. But for personal finance or for financial literacy, what kind of advice would you give them? And this could be general about start saving early and make investments, or where to find information to learn about financial products and how to access financial services. What message do you have for our audience today that you want them to take away from this seminar tonight? Melissa, let's start with you.
Sure. So I think my advice would, there's the practical aspects. There's the, save some money, take a little bit out of everything that you make and just put it away and forget about it. Almost like lock the, like don't break open that piggy bank type of mentality. But I think more than anything is really around the learning. And I think, I heard tonight about it has to be, and in hearing this in the digital space too, is it has to be in a manner that people understand, right? How many of you guys play Candy Crush in here? All right. I think we're gonna, if you're really truly honest, if you've ever played Candy Crush, it's probably 100%, right? It's easy, it's fun, it's, you can pick it up. Did you have to read the rules? Did you have to look at, some sort of user manual to figure it out? No, it was rather intuitive. You kind of like went with it as you went. It gave a few little, tidbits about how to get better. I think that's the thing that as we bring in these digital tools, we have to always remember is that they have to be at a level that is intuitive. It's logic thinking. It's not how difficult it is to find some 16-digit number on my meter to, go enter it here to then get, no, it has to be easy. And so with that, if that's not the case, then ask questions, right? And if you're not getting the answers or you're not seeing, somebody who can help you, ask again. Don't be deterred by not getting the answer that makes sense or that helps you, right? Just be persistent, because if you truly believe in it and you want to get there, then you will. But look for those people, because there's so many. I mean, I'm on stage with two very lovely women who are obviously here to help and want to continue to help and are very passionate about it. And so let's, people are out there.
And
So.
one man.
And one, yes, we must have our allies. Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
His Indonesian is quite good too. Didn't you guys think so?
Sekar, how about you? What advice would you give for a final message to our audience?
Okay. First of all, does everyone have like your smartphone with you? Take it out. And you guys have Instagram? Yeah. Okay. So open your Instagram account at OJK Indonesia. At OJK Indonesia, you guys make sure to click the follow button. You can check every day. We made postings on content feed on financial products and services information. There you can get the information from there. And also we have our mini site of Sikapi Uangmu, .ojk.co.id if you want to find information on how to manage your financials. And well, it's a very, very simple, I think, guideline for me. It's set your goals. Set your financial goals, and then, just like Sadika said, not affordable. You cannot. Not affordable is not affordable. So distinguish between your needs and your wants to prioritize your how you're going to have your monthly expenditure, and be disciplined on the budget and wise on your debt. I mean, like debt is good if it's like for productive means, but I mean, you have to be aware of like your how you consume it. So yeah, and always remember legal and logic, two things. When you're investing, legal and logic. Yeah, of course, that's our tagline. 2L, legal and logic. If you want to find, if you want to look into the legal entities, financial entities, you can just contact OJK on our WhatsApp. Actually, we also have a chatbot 24/7. If you want to check whether the financial institution is illegal, it's legal or not, and within our OJK's supervision, it's at 081 157 157 157. 081 157 157 157. Yeah, that's our chatbot for you can contact customer service for 24/7. Yeah, to check on, remember, legal and logic when investing.
I like that. It's
And why you
consistent.
have your Instagram accounts open? Oh yeah, please,
yeah.
round of applause. Why you have your Instagram accounts open, please follow at America as well.
Oh, while you're on the topic, YCAB Foundation, follow us. But I like what you said. Legal and logic is consistent to your profession, and I think just logic of living. But I like to pick up what you're saying. It's a personal note, same principle. I think ladies, uangmu, uangku, uangku ya uangku, gitu kan. So your money, my money is my money. So that's something that is also can be, one of the ways to get to the financial when you actually, have partners in life. But before that, when you guys are now in university and going to, of course, secure jobs, yeah, not just savings, but I think investment. This is OJK's, by the way, one of your Gen Z, melek investasi. I like this because I think not only savings gives you the lowest rate of return, but of course, the highest security, right? This is a very simple thing. But with investment, you have higher return, but higher risk. So you need to know your risk appetite, maybe. That's where it comes down to. But like anything in life, you need a pie, like a pizza, right? So some part of it, investment, some part of it, savings, the other part of it should be, Indonesian tuh love this, apa istilahnya, the budget yang mendadakan, itu apa dibilangnya? Yeah, emergency funds or, emergency funds, something that you need to, like how we teach our clients, both at PNM or YCAB, it's color coded. Because we're still thinking physical money, right? When they make 100,000 a day, you put 20,000 in the red envelope, which is don't use ever unless it's a matter of life and death. The green envelope is for, food, or the orange envelope is for, investment or savings or whatnot. So that's pretty much the discipline. I think you need that discipline and consistency in life in order to look at your options, the opportunities, savings versus investment. What is your risk appetite? Where are they? And of course, later in life, when you're married, then you need to talk about these things with your spouse, with your husband, with your wife, because this is the second reason most people divorce is because of financial disagreement.
Life lessons.
This is important. So talk about it before, not after, because it will be hard. You can, but it's just harder. That's from me, Josh.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we have a little bit of time left for questions and answers from the audience. So let's start with our in-person audience here at America. If you have a question for any of our panelists or all of our panelists, please raise your hand, and one of our At America guides will come around with a microphone. Yeah, I saw a hand up there in the back.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Daniel. I came from IPB University from the Faculty of Economics and Management. And first of all, I wanted to appreciate what you guys have done for the economic in Indonesia, especially for financial inclusion for everyone, including women also. And one of my questions actually correlates to that, because we have seen that in terms of literacy, women are actually higher than men in terms of financial, in terms of economic. But one of the issues is that in the inclusivity itself, it's still really, really hard to push the number of women that could get into a job or have a quite decent workplace because of the culture itself. And in our study program in economics, actually we have more women students than men. It's like 70% of our students are women. So it's, once again, it's great for the literacy itself. But in terms of the inclusivity and the culture, I think some companies still has not supportive culture in terms of like women. And the question that I want to ask is that how can us in the position of a company owner can create a more inclusive workplace, a culture that supports advancements for women in terms of like financial. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the question. So this is, again, literacy has improved quite a bit, higher for women now, according to some latest data, but we're not seeing the results, especially in the working world. So what can companies be doing? What should companies be doing to support women who want to pursue careers, for example, in the financial industry? We've done some events here at America on this very topic in the past, but I'm very interested to hear your all's thoughts. Who would like to take a first stab? Please, Melissa.
So one thing I didn't actually talk about earlier is my background. So I'm an engineer by training. I'm not an engineer who became a poet. But I'm an engineer who became a diplomat. So it's kind of similar, actually, pay-wise. But with that said, having worked for a number of years and having gone to school in a very male-dominated, kind of industry, and then seeing that, for me, it's representation, right? People aspire to certain positions and to certain roles and see they fight for what they want, but they fight for something that they know they can get to. And so you came at it from the standpoint of not just, you know, a student, but also you're saying as a company owner. Like, so if you plan to run a company, it's that representation, and it's not just representation in that there's women there, there's minorities, but it's also of the culture that's created. So that comes with flexibility, that comes with, you know, understanding that maybe, you know, the 9-to-5 work schedule may or may not work for them, but if people are still getting their work done, you know, at different times of the day, based on whatever their home life is, and their home life doesn't necessarily have to be at family, it's what they choose, how they want to live, then I think that's a big thing. And so it really becomes to, you know, kind of walking the walk and giving that ability to recognize that we don't always have to use the box, right? We don't have to fit everything into the box. And we can look at other creative ways that's still advancing the mission of the company, that's still, you know, getting the sales, whatever the purpose is, and be open that there's other ways to do so.
So seeing women in those roles is very critical. Did that play a role in your life? Did you have strong female role models in male-dominated fields that inspired you?
Yes and no, surprisingly. So I have my mother was a very strong personality. She was Dutch. She, you know, was an immigrant to the U.S., you know, very, very self-made. But I had some in university, but to be honest, when I was working, it was men who were my mentors, and, you know, still are good friends of mine to this day, who saw, you know, my potential and wanted to, you know, lift me up and help me develop and things of that nature. And I think that's the other thing that's really important. And Josh, you said it, you know, to see the young men in the room today, I think that's so important, because the fact is, most of the times you already have a seat at the table just because of the gender that you were born with. So speak up on behalf of your female colleagues, on behalf of your sisters, on behalf of your friends, because if you already have a place at that table, you know, what else can be done? And speak up to acknowledge, you know, the ideas that you're hearing that aren't being, you know, maybe heard in that same way. So I think allies are, you know, women can do it, you know, they need to. We always, you know, it's probably driving the fight, but the reality is we need our allies, and we need our allies to support. So please continue to do so.
Sekar or Veronica, anything you would like to add on to Danny's question from earlier about what companies can be doing to support women?
Maybe just the example. Nowadays, with the ESG everywhere, right? The component of sustainability is important. Gender balance or gender balance in the board, very important. Like, for example, a foundation like us, nonprofit, we are a 3-board system. Pembina, which is Dewan Pembina, is what's that? Pembina is Pembina. Dewan Pengawas is supervisory. Patron, usually it's called patron. Pembina, like owners in the company. Supervisory board is like komisaris, and pengurus, which is the board of directors. Every board has to have women on board. Otherwise, you can't even be considered for loans in bank. You can't be considered for application for, you know, proposals for CSR or whatnot. So representation of gender is very important in your board. So that's something you can look at. And of course, the HR policy in terms of salary. I don't know, not in our company, not in OJK too. I've not heard that women are actually paid less in Indonesia. Indonesia is quite advanced that way. We're not paid less simply because we're women. Not that I've heard of. I know I've been, the company's owners, multinationals that I talk to in my experience of living. We are not in that, but you make sure that you don't do that as well. And I think flexibility is very important. Now that we've gone through the pandemic, there's a WFH, or whatever that is, work from home, work from office. That's interchangeably important, especially for women who's in the productive years. They have kids, they have babies, and they have responsibilities. It doesn't mean they cannot work. They probably work on midnight, between midnight and prayer hours, but they work, they can. So that flexibility is also important, whether twice a week, 3 times a week, turning up in the office. That gives a lot of women and husbands, happiness, really, to have that kind of policy. So that's just being practical about your questions. Thank you.
Yes, please. Round of applause. So let's see if we've got some other questions from folks in the room. I see another hand at the back. Oh, and right up here. Yep.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for everyone who are the speaker from Sakdiyah and everyone. I learned a lot. My question is about, women in finance. I'm a mother of 2 boys. And actually, it's based on my experience now. Kids are very exposed to the social media. And my experience is like more of them is like ask them to buy something, okay? So they become conscious about, everything. It's so easy. And there's so many products, even food or things. Okay, so I thought it was only my challenge. But then I read a lot and I also travel a lot to many places in Indonesia. Most of them is in East Indonesia. I traveled to Attaché, Ambon, also Papua. So my question is actually when Indonesia will start having the literacy or finance for children. I mean, like, okay, I learned accounting in high school. And nowadays, for me, it's too late. It's even too late. Okay, so, and like me, I know OJK, but actually, up until today, I just heard that you have the module also. So, yeah, how people can know that?
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically my question. Thank you.
It's directed to me.
Thank you. Yeah, and I also, please.
All right.
Also want to know the answer to this question
All right,
as a
okay.
parent of 2 boys as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I mean, this is very important. Well, we do have a book of series of books on financial literacy, and it starts from pre-nursery, I think. We have a series. PAUD is pre-nursery, right? PAUD is. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's nursery. So we have a book of series from nursery up until university, and it can be accessed through our website and also at sikapiwangmu.ojk.go.id. Sorry. Oh no. I think my staff is trying to tell me something, but apparently not. So yeah, so it's like at sikapiwangmu.go.id, you can access it for the module. And also, like I said, we have LMS, a learning model system. It's on a web-based, so you can just go to the website and you can try to learn. And it also, I think, it starts from a very early education as well, but perhaps not PAUD, perhaps not nursery. I believe if we talk about the scope, like from NTT and stuff like that, from the east side, we actually have an initiative and program implemented for financial inclusion and literacy. We have an initiative of Tim Percepatan Akses Keuangan Daerah. So it's a team of acceleration of financial access for the regional. So we currently have 518 TPA-KD team across all the regions of 34 provinces. And it is actually a forum where not only OJK, but also the local government and also the local financial institution, we try to promote financial access and also targeting women in this sense. As an example, one of the program of TPA-KD is KPMR Mawar Emas. It's a credit of financing to combat mosque-based usury. And then TPA-KD in West Nusa Tenggara Province. We have Sekar Cinta, the program to enhance gender equity and pertanian access. This is the role in the family in TPA-KD in Jawa Barat. So this is actually our effort, collaborative effort with strategic alliances with the local government to collaborate with financial institution as well, and how to improve financial literacy and financial access in that particular region. So those are the initiatives that we have been doing so far.
Thank you very much. So I want to be able to get to as many questions as possible. Yes, say the hand in the back. Oh, yeah, okay. We're going to go on this side. But I'm sorry you all were at a disadvantage because I've been facing this way. Let's go to this side. And then we'll come back.
Hi, my name is Devyanti. My question for Veronica is, you mentioned about financial pie. There's a lot of people here, they're young, they're about to get married in a few years. How much, percentage-wise, should we allocate for example, investments and for household expenses and anything else? The financial pie, can you give us like a more detailed breakdown? And also for Sekar, perhaps, I'd like to know for young adults who are probably just going to get married, and housing is such a big problem, that the price of houses are getting so expensive and it's increasing. It seems as if a lot of people can't catch up. So what is the best way to invest money? Is it in state bonds, in gold, in deposito, to be able to, purchase our first home as young adults? Yeah.
I like practical questions like this, but there's no one way of responding to it, because I would suspect that your operation expense, as in company like OPEX, this is your everyday living, food and shelter and all of that, will take up majority of your income, and it will leave you, if you're lucky, 10%, 20% to save. Then we're talking about the pie of this 10 and 20%, right? That's the question. So the pie depends on your risk appetite again. If you are more conservative, then you're probably gonna go for deposito. Deposito gives you what, 4 or 5% now, or 6? Yeah, but net out of 6, potong 20% tax, you get probably 4.5% income. So you put $1 million, you get 45,000 back, right? Every year, not month. So that's, if you have a higher risk appetite, then you can go towards mutual fund. What's interesting too, YCAB is working with an asset manager to issue a mutual fund. So this is not savings, it's actually fall under investment. Betul ya, Bu? Mutual fund is investment with higher return depending on the mutual fund investment into, is it bonds or is it stocks and bonds or mix, stuff like that. So we're talking about 10, 12%. But again, it's still higher risk than deposito. So that's something you gotta know your appetite right? And of course, there's a lot of resources online to actually check on your risk appetite, which is every country different because it's actually cultural derived. So that's interesting. So you Google that, understand yourself, then you can understand your finances so you can plan better. So that's probably my advice. Yeah.
I think Veronica has explained it all. But the general rules is actually on allocating your funds is 40% for your daily needs, and then 30, if you're lucky enough, 30% for productive debt repayments, and then 10 social funds, 20 for investment or protection. And again, in terms of how you're going to invest, it will really depend on your risk preference but what's interesting is after COVID, actually there are almost more, I think 50% of investors are Gen Z, and they are investors in the capital market. So we can see that actually younger generation, they have more appetite for risk, basically. But I hope this appetite for risk is also complemented with your understanding, your literacy in how to invest in the capital market as well. So yeah, so I think that's I think how I'm going to finish my.
Yes. Well, we all know, I don't know, Josh, you were here in Indonesia back then. During the COVID, April 2020, the index was at its lowest, at 3,000. Today, index is almost 7,000. So pretty much everybody who buys something then makes double. That's just the math. But now, not so much. Those who actually come into the market right now, capital market, we're talking about buying shares, yeah, the Bursa Efek Jakarta, it's hard to survive. Hard to survive. But back then, everybody, that's why Gen Z in that OJK, you can see OJK's Instagram, it's at 55.79% of capital market investors are under 30 years old back in those days. But I don't know today. Maybe you want to repeat the study and share
it's
with
still
us.
the same. It's still
It's
say
still
the
the same?
same. It's a consistency on the data.
Yeah, because I remember during the pandemic, there are 7 million or is it 17 million new accounts?
Yeah,
Opening
because the
accounts.
entry for the product
Yeah.
is also lowered. Like you can
Yeah.
invest now for like 10,000, 100,000.
Yes, like
yeah.
our mutual fund would be impactful mutual fund. So they save or they invest 100,000. Yeah, 100,000 is about $8. Is it $7 now? Sorry, yes, sorry, Indonesia. So $6, you can actually have a 1 unit. When you have a 1 unit, you're eligible to get 10%, financial return on the mutual fund that we are creating. So that way, at the same time, your mutual fund is actually helping social projects, social initiative of YCAB, but you don't feel like giving money, but you're actually, supporting the work. So that's the kind of, I think, initiative you said, and also intuitiveness of a financial product that can be accessed easily, but at the same time creating impact. So that's what we are to go. That's the direction that we're going. How to move the capital market of Indonesia with financial products that has impactful effect. So that's, I think, the next big thing. Yeah.
We have time for just one or two more questions. There was a young lady in the back here who I tried to call on a couple of times. So I wanted to see if there was. Okay, we'll go right there to the middle.
Thank you for sharing. My name is Puri, and my question is that we talk about financial inclusion. We heard a lot about saving and investing, but I think it's primarily for those who have expendable income. But for people who are young, some of them probably don't have that either. Even like the older generations, not all have the luxury of expendable income. So my question is that how can we practice in reality, in action, the financial inclusion from ourselves in our family, in our community, and in like our individual action in day-to-day life. I mean, if we don't have that expendable income yet. Thank you.
Well, it's hard if you don't have anything. But I get the question. I think it comes down to, again, discipline. When and if you have something, you actually put it away in, savings or investing, right? But if you start with zero, then I don't know how to respond to that. Maybe Ibu Melissa
I mean,
can.
I would say, kind of modeling what we've also talked about here with some of the programs that you guys have done. You started with the data, right? When I was young, when I was in university, and I was, finding every which way to kind of make a side hustle, right? I was always I was meticulously keeping track of every penny, that's in dollars, that I spent that day. So did I, buy a candy bar? I had to get gas for, I had a car to get to work. I looked at that so that I had visibility into even the seemingly small, minute, like little things that I spent my money on, and said, do I need to, right? And it's within those and looking at, and that's the start of budgeting, right? Like that's the start of really understanding of what you spend, not just looking at, oh, this is what I spend as your OpEx, like as your operating expenses, but really truly drilling down into them and seeing, are there other ways? Can I get a deal? Is there a coupon? Is this one on sale? Like when it comes to the food, and seeing, and again, you can't start from zero, but perhaps you can find that little sliver. And that little sliver that you can be like, okay, and I saved that here, and therefore I put that aside. Something that I did is as I got my first job out of university, and as I, started to make more money, every time that I got to this point of what it was that I was comfortable living at, like my rent for my apartment and, all the expenses that I had. And then every time that I got a raise, I never saw that money. What I did is I had it automatically directly deposited, like that delta, like into a bank account that is somewhat difficult for me to access. And I still have that bank account today. To transfer money out of it, it's like 2 days I have to wait. So I can't do impulse buys. And I just kind of almost kept like my take-home salary as the same for like 5, 7, 8 years, right? Until I bought a house, and then I, maybe had to change some things. But that way I kept increasing my savings, but not really feeling that it was different, because I was comfortable in what it was. So I would just implore people to, really truly look at your budget and see if you can, have that discipline to, try to really understand what it is that you're spending your money on, and then look for the opportunities there.
What a fantastic question to end on, and a great answer.
Can I add something to it? If we still have more time, if we don't have time, it's okay.
We can have a couple more minutes, sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's a very good question. I mean, and I mean, like, your insight is good on a practical level. You should really look into that. But I think what is much more important is like this. I understand that discipline of like setting aside whatever portion of your income as a saving is a must. So it comes down to your discipline. But then again, there's a trend that we see, younger generation, they have this tendency of like fear of missing out. And when people are talking FOMO, like fear of missing out, when people are talking about investment, you're correct. It's a matter of you have a disposable income or not. But I need to really remind you guys, never try to like invest, but having the source of fund by your pinjol, like pinjaman online. Never do that. So invest when you have a disposable income, but in order for you to start to have a disposable income, then you really need to start being disciplined to set aside on your savings. And I think that's what I think it's my take to close, and on the last one.
And I think it's important that young people is not trapped into promises of investment that can give you what, 10% a month, 20% a month. There's no such a thing.
If
There
it's too
is
good to be
no
true, it is.
such a thing, right? So do not get trapped into that mindset,
Flexing. Yeah.
wanting
Yeah.
to get rich
Is it legal?
as fast as possible. There's no such a thing. So don't. If you look at double digits per week, per month, that's hoax. If you look at double digits per year, now that's considerable, like mutual fund, 10, 12%, 15 sometimes. It's okay per year. I'm not talking about per month or per week. So if anybody offer you, run away.
Run away. Yeah. Correct.
All right, I am being told that we've run out of time. This is a really fascinating discussion, though. I wish we had quite a lot more time to spend on these topics and to answer everyone's questions. We'll have to do it again sometime. Everyone, please join me in thanking Veronica and Sekar and Melissa. Finally, it would be a mistake if I didn't thank one other person, and that is my colleague Siska Aristiawati from the U.S. Embassy. Siska is the driving force behind the Women in Finance series, not just this event, but all of our previous events as well. So thank you so much, Siska, for all of your hard work and ingenuity putting this together. So that brings us to the end of our program. Thank you all very much. I'm going to hand it back over to the America folks to close us out.
All right. Thank you so much to our wonderful moderator and three of our speakers, which is Women in Finance. They're so smart, so talented, and I do believe that we are now here gathered in America. We gain a lot of insights to how to wisely spend your money, save your money, and also invest your money. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining America. Kindly visit our website at www.atamerica.or.id. Also, follow our social media pages. We're on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube at America. And with that, my name is Farah Shiba, and see you at the next America event. Goodbye. All right, then we will do a group photo session.